Hey there, Heather Ho. There's Jeff Cutter-Donovan. Welcome you to another Stone Cold Hockey video for the 72-73 WHA squad. We're down to 8 teams. Cleveland, New York, New England, Philly, Houston, LA, Winnipeg, and Alberta going toe-to-toe. The standings in the regular season, Cleveland won the East with 105 points. The Cavaliers, I knew I would say that. The Crusaders, led by Jerry Cheevers, doing his job. The New England Whalers with 97 points, also doing good. Of course, the Whalers would be one of those 4 teams to be joining the NHL from the WHA. Philadelphia was 78 points, off distant third, but they're the only other team at 500. But yeah, the Philadelphia Blazers, the team that had Derek Sanderson for 8 games before he decided to pack his ball and went back to the NHL. You know, Bernie Perrant playing for the Blazers, and then he left for the NHL and was a superstar for the Flyers. The New York Raiders with 74 points, fourth, but hey, they did it. I mean, WHA in New York City. Quebec and Ottawa fell flat. The Nordiques, who would soon go on to dominance in the late 70s before joining the NHL, and the Ottawa Nationals, who would turn into the Toronto Toros. So yeah, Ottawa giving hockey to Canada's nation. Anyway, the West, Houston with 97 points, crushed the West, the Houston Aeros. And this was the season before Gordie Howe and the Howe boys came. Winnipeg and Alberta both had 79 points, but Winnipeg took second place because they won 38, Alberta won 36. The Jets and Oilers would go on to be merged in the NHL. Los Angeles snuck in past Minnesota by 1 point. The LA Sharks, shocking everyone, the Fighting Saints. The Chicago Cougars were only 63 points. So we are going to do a quick playoffs thing. If there is a game 6 in a series, we're going to play it. But anyway, Cleveland, New York, game 1 sees Cleveland crush it 7-2. Cheevers beats Kurt. New York goes by Lawton and Ron Ward, who was the goal scoring champion of the WHA. Cleveland's goals: Jarrett, Pinder, Jarrett, Hodgson, Buchanan, Pumple with the last 2. New England, Philly saw New England win 5-2 as Landon beats Bernie Perrant. Michael Landon? Nope, that's Bruce Landon. Philly goes by Pye McKenzie, both of them. Sheehy with 2, Tom Webster, Ahern, and Larry Plow scoring for the Whalers. Winnipeg crushing Alberta 6-2 in game 1. There's Ernie Wakely, the former Blue, against Jack Norris, the former Bruin / Blackhawk. Alberta goes by Ryan Walters and Bill Hick. Big Bill Hick. Winnipeg, Bobby Hall with a hat trick. Ad McDonald, Dennis Russo, and John Grattan with the goal. So yeah, Bobby Hall with a hat trick. And Houston wins in overtime over LA. Gardner, the former Canuck goalie, losing to Rain Letlich, the former LA Kings goalie. Houston was up 2-1 goals by Morton and Hoekstra. Then LA got Haskela, and then Niekamp scored with 2 minutes left on the power play. Houston on the power play in overtime at 7:39. Murray Hall from Taylor and Hoekstra. Game 2 of New England Phillies saw Philly win 6-4 to split the first 2 games. Perrant beating Landon. Philly goes by Lawson, Harriman, Lawson, Burgess, Campbell, and Michelle Plundin in the net. New England goes by Plow, Webster, Caffery, and Tommy Williams, who at one time was one of the rarities, an American playing in the NHL. Winnipeg beats Alberta 4-1 as Wakely beats Norris again. Perkins on the go for Alberta. Johnson, Bordelot, Bobby Hall, and Cuddy Fish with the goals for Winnipeg. Houston again beats LA in overtime as Gillow was in net for LA this time against Rutledge and lost. Houston was up 3-2. Laboisa, Hughes, and Paul Popolo scored. LA goes by Speck, Gilmore, and then Fenarusa with the goalie pull to tie it. But then Popolo, his second of the night and second of the playoffs at 2:15 for Laboisa and Duke Harris. And New York beats Cleveland 7-4. Donnelly beats Whitten. Both teams went with a new goalie. Cleveland goes by Jarrett, Hardy, Pumple, and Horton. New York goes by Rivers, Perry, Rivers, Sheehan, Ward, and Bobby Morantz. So yeah, both Eastern series are at 1-1, and both Western series are at 2-0. Winnipeg, Alberta game 3 sees Winnipeg win 3-2. They're now 1 win away from the sweep. Wakely beats Norris. Alberta goes by Harrison and Walters. Winnipeg goes by Russo, Bobby Hall again, and Bordelot. LA wins over Houston in overtime. McLeod in net against Gillow. Houston was up 3-1. McDonald, Hall, and Lund scored. but LA Crashley and then Fenderuso with 2. And this time LA wins in overtime. White ultimately at 850 from Fenderuso and Crashley. So Houston again had the lead, but LA forced overtime. And this time Houston could not finish the job. Cleveland beats New York 4-3 as Whitten beats Donnelly. Cleveland goals by Pumple, Dillabo, Brindley, and Hopiori. New York goals by Perry, Rivers, and Reichmuth. New England goes to Philly, wins 6-4 as Al Smith was in net this time against Bernie Ferrand. Philly goes by Lacroix, O'Donohue, Lacroix, and Pye McKenzie. New England goes by Ahern, French, Selwood, and Tommy Webster. Winnipeg, do they have to sweep? They do. In overtime, Wakely beats Norris. Alberta was up 3-1. Walters, Cote, and Perkins, so it looked good for Alberta to at least win one. Johnson scored, then Johnson, then Bobby Hall his 6th, and in overtime, 11:36. Portolo his 3rd from Rizzuto and Wojtowicz. So Winnipeg sweeps through Alberta quite easily. Houston beats LA in overtime 3-2 as Rutledge beats Gardner. LA was up 2-0. Souza and Federuso. It looked like the Sharks were going to go 2-2 and then force a best of 3. But Hall and Harris scored, and then Hughes at 3:19 from Harris and LeBoisal. So all 4 games of Houston LA have gone to overtime. Only one game, Winnipeg Alberta, game 4, else has gone to overtime. Game 4, Cleveland beats New York 7-4, going home with a 3-1 lead. Cheevers over Donnelly. New York goes by Prakash, Lawton, and Ron Ward, his 3rd. But Jarrett, Buchanan, Pinder, Hannah, Craik, and Buchanan with the hat trick. Philly wins 7-6 in overtime against New England. It's now a best of 3. Marcel Paille, former Bruins goalie, beats Smith. New England was up 6-1. The Whalers were up 6-1 with a all but certain chance to go up 3-1, and they blew it. Philly had to go by Lacroix, but New England goes by Selby, Cafferty, French, Hurley, French, and then Plow. Burgess, O'Donohue, Campbell, Bennett, Campbell. Brian Campbell, 2 goals to former Blackhawk. And then overtime at 15:35, Mignot from O'Donohue. New England blew a 6-1 lead. Unfucking real. They had a 3-1 series lead. They had it all in their hands, and they blew it. Houston, can they wrap up their series? Yes, they can. 5-3. This time it didn't go overtime. Rutledge beats Garner. Houston was up 4-0. Grierson, Hall, Taylor, and Taylor. It was like, at least going to pull back to win. They did score 3 goals. White, Heineman, and Crashley, but that was it. McDonald scored for Houston to ice it. And Houston sinks LA. So I think that means it's Houston, Winnipeg, right? If everything goes according to plan, I think. Right? Oh, I guess they're not saying anything. Cleveland, do they take down New York? They do. 3-1. Cheevers takes out Wilkie, Brindley, Buchanan, and Dillabo, scoring for Cleveland. Sheehan for New York. So Cleveland knocks out New York quite easily. Philly, New England, game 5 sees New England on home ice win 6-5 as Smith beats Perrant. It was a tight knit game. Philly goes by Henry, Brian Campbell, Burgess, Lacroix, and Bordelot. New England goes by Sheehy, Caffery, Selby, Green, Caffery, and then Caffery for the hat trick. 6-5. This time they don't blow it. Game 6 sees New England go to Philly, win 4-2. Well, that 6-1 lead wasn't a harbinger of things to come. New England did hang on. Lapierre and Burgess scoring for Philly. New England goes by Cafferty, Webster, Tommy Williams, and Ted Green. So let's take a look at the, well, every 1-2-1-2 semifinals. Yep, it's East and West. Yep, 1-2-1-2. So kind of anticlimactic. Alberta, let's take a look at them in the playoffs. Ron Walters, 4 points. Jack Norris was the only goalie. Ken Brown didn't play in net. Ron Walters scored 3 times. So Alberta got KO'd. Chicago didn't make the playoffs. Los Angeles got KO'd. George Gardner was 0-3. They should have put Gillo in net more. Fenderuso had 7 points. The only guy who had more than 3 points. He had 4 goals. Fenderuso. New York got KO'd. Donnelly 1-2. Kirk 0-1. Wilkie 0-1. So yeah, Ron Ward had 12 points. Man, the goal scoring champion only scored 3 goals. He had 9 assists. Not bad. Philadelphia got KO'd. Bernie Perrant was okay, but he wasn't there. Under Lacroix with 10 points, including 4 goals. Don Burkus with 4 goals. Didn't think he had it in him. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So yeah, the summary. Well, in the regular season, yeah, Ron Ward had 66 goals to lead the WHA. Gary Fennerusso second, Tom Webster and Danny Lawson tied for third. Points wise, Andre Lacroix had first, Ron Ward second, Bobby Hall third. Russ Gillow was the goal. Playoff stats. Terry Cafferty and Bobby Hall both have 6, and their teams are still in it. Points wise, Ron Ward with 12, despite the fact his team's out. Webster and Lacroix with 10. Tom Webster's the leading point getter. Ernie Wakely 4-0 with a 190 goals against. Looking good, PP. But how about this? George Gardner and Jack Norris both lost 3 starts, and yet they have better goals against than Al Smith, who was 3-1 with a 4.22. Norris a 3.83. This is the same game. Anyway, Cleveland, New England, game 1. Sees New England go into Cleveland and win 5-3 as Landon beats Witten. Cleveland goes by Pinder, and Weist. New England goes by Webster, Selby, Selwood, Selby. Game 1 of the West saw Houston win 5-3 as McLeod beats Wakely. Houston was up 4-0. McDonald, Lund, Grierson, Pupil. Winnipeg scored the next 3. Bolden finally coming in, and Bobby Hall with his 7th. Stanfield for Houston scored in the 3rd. Keep things going. Game 2 in the West saw Winnipeg win 3-2. As Wakely beats Rutledge. Winnipeg goes by Boden, Bobby Hall. Well, Bobby Hall is going to have to be at his absolute best. With Houston goals by Pupil and Murray Hall. Game 2 in the East, Cleveland win 5-2, so tie that series up. Whitten beats Smith. New England goes by Earl and Webster, his 7th. Cleveland goes by Erickson, Buchanan, Weiss, Jarrett, and Pinder. Getting everyone mixed up. Fuck. Game 3, Cleveland, New England. New England wins 4-2. Smith beats Whitten. Cleveland goes by Pumpel and Hodgson. New England goes by Turbo Ted Green, Earl, Webster, and Sheehy. All with the letter T in their names. That's weird. Game 3 in the West, Houston wins 4-1 in Winnipeg. Rutledge beats Wakely. Winnipeg goal? Yes, Bobby Hall, his 10th. I should have known. Lund, Hughes, Bourgeois, and Duke Harris scored the goals. Game 4 sees Houston beat Winnipeg 4-2, so they go home with a 3-1 series lead. McLeod beats Wakely. Winnipeg goes by Bobby Hall. He scores almost every game. Black even scores a goal from Swenson and Boyer. Houston goes by Hughes, Duke Harris, Bourgeois, and Larry Lund. Game 4 sees New England win in overtime. Now they go into Cleveland with a 3-1 series lead. Smith beats Cheevers. New England scored the first 2, Ahern and Ted Green. Cleveland scored the next 2, Buchanan and Pumpel. Sheehan made 3-2, and then with the goalie pull, Brindley made it 3-3. And then at 17:32 of overtime, Ahern from Sheehy and French. Will New England take down Cleveland? Yes, they did. 5-3 as Al Smith beats Whitten, and New England takes down the Cavaliers. I knew Cleveland should have used Cheapers Mark. Cleveland goes by Weiss, Paul Andrea, and Dellenball. New England goes by Cafferty, Plow, Sheehy, and then Tom Webster iced it. So Cleveland took down New York in 5, but went down to 5. Gary Cheevers was 3-1. Why was Cheevers not playing? Something was wrong. Cheevers was 3-1, but yeah, Whitten played more games. I don't know why. Buchanan with 13 points, Pinder with 11, Jordan and Erickson with 9 each. Buchanan with 7 goals. And does Houston take down Winnipeg? They do. Houston wins 4-2. McLeod takes down Daly. Winnipeg goes by Hall. Well, Bobby Hall with 2 goals. It just seems that Bobby Hall scored every game, and I think he did. Houston goes by Mortson, Pupil, Harris, and Pupil. So Winnipeg's out. Houston against New England. Winnipeg. Ernie Wakely 5-3. Joe Daly played 1 game and sucked. Yeah, they swept Alberta, and then they got taken out by Houston in 5. Bobby Hall with 15 points, Bordelot 11. But Bobby Hall, 13 goals, 2 assists. When I said, oh, Bobby Hall can pass the puck, well, he only had 2 assists. So Bobby Hall with 13 goals. And the summary, yeah, the goal scoring thing. Tom Webster and Terry Cafferty will be trying to catch Bobby Hall, but he has got 13 goals. Points wise, Tom Webster has 19. LeBourzel 17. Bobby Hall with 15. He's gone. Tom Webster looks like he wants to be the points leader. Wayne Rutledge leads goals against at 209. So Houston versus New England, game 1. sees New England win 5-2 as Smith takes down McLeod. Houston was up 2-0. Grierson and Popel, but New England goes by Cafferty, Plo, Selwood, Webster, and then Tom Webster again. Man, he's a good player. Game 2 sees New England win in overtime 6-5 as Smith beat McLeod. Houston again had the big lead. They were up 5-2 after 2. McCallum, Harris, Hoekstra, Hall, and McDonald. With New England scoring Danby and at Hearn. It looked like Houston was going to take it back, but New England scored 3 goals in the 12 minutes. Plo and then Cafferty with 2. But in overtime, it was Larry Plo on the power play after Hall got penalty for interference at 3:49 from Dory, Jimmy Dory. Larry Plo makes it 2 for New England. Game 3 sees New England win on Prolacashian 4-3 as Smith takes down Rutledge. Man, a lot of overtime games for New England. Houston 3 goals were Hoekstra, Harrison Hall. New England's goals by Plo, and Ahern. And in overtime, Tommy Webster, 25 seconds from Sheehy and Cafferty. So, those known as New England wins Game 4. And for the first time in the playoffs, the team that had a chance to win the series doesn't take advantage. Houston in overtime. Houston goes by Harris, Taylor, and McDonald. New England goes by Dory, Selwood, and Tom Webster. But at overtime, Murray Hall at 9:05 from Mortson and Hoekstra. Game 5 sees Houston go to New England win 3-2 as McLeod beats Smith. Houston goes by Hall, McDonald, and LeBoiselle. New England goes by Green and Tom Webster, his 14th. I think that takes him to the first place in goal scoring. And Houston wins 7-6. No way. We may have a reverse sweep. It was 5-2 Houston. Houston looked like they were going to definitely win. New England scored 4 of the last 5 goals. Well, they're down 6-3, but Plo, Cafferty, and Plo. And in overtime, thanks to Sheehy's penalty, LeBoiselle from London Popil makes it 7-6. So it's 3-3. We play game 7. And it's going to be Rutledge versus Smith. So they're going to go with the big boy, Smith versus Rutledge. Lots of players to behold. Big names for the Whalers. Tom Webster, Terry Cafferty playing good. Larry Plo, Tim Sheehy, Jim Dory, Ted Green, Brad Selwood, Tommy Williams, Rick Lay. Looking pretty good. Houston, Gard LeBoiselle, Ted Taylor, Murray Hall, Larry Lund, Popo Hill, Duke Harris, Brian McDonald, Ed Hoekstra has been good. John Scella. Here we go. 3 minutes into the game. The batter Grierson. Nobody gets hit. Papa power play go. His 8th from Tommy Webster makes it 1-0 for the Whale. Just a short while. His 8 from Scella and Ted Taylor. We're tied. Much later. As for the Whale Skiers, call Mr. Plo. That's his name. That name again is Mr. Plo. From Britt Selby makes it 2-1 for the Whale. Then, much later, no shot by Ted Green. And the Whale are up 2-1. They cannot afford to lose to Houston, especially with the fact they were up 3-0. 5 minutes later. That's for Houston and Grierson. 9. 5 more minutes pass. Wellskier. His 8th. Paul Hurley with an assist. And John French also there. Paul Hurley, huh? Much later. Cleveland Brown and I'm here. My new family. The Cleveland Show. Cleveland Morrison has 4 from Taylor and Hoekstra. Last moments of the period. Aggression and a fight between Plo and Scella. Both teams missing defensemen, I think, right? Well, bad news for the Whalers. Plo is a pretty good center. Scella is just a defenseman, a goon. They might have done their job. They did. It's yours. Harris is 9th. 2nd of the night from Hall and Hoekstra. 999. Much later. Another fight. It's French and McDonald. Going toe to toe. Nothing too brutal. Battle. Winner goal on the PK. It's green for 2. Uh-oh. No shot by LeBlanc. Was trying to get a hit. Apparently, it's Ted Green again. Uh-oh. No shot by Hall. It's no! For goal! Larry Hale, that is. First from Lobozo, and Larry Lund makes it 4-3 for the Arrows. Boy. Empty net, no. Empty net, no. And strange but true, the Houston Arrows have revenge swept the New England Whalers, and Houston are your champions of the WHA. They have won the AFCO Cup, and they didn't need Gordy, Mark, or Marty Howe to do so. The Houston Arrows are your champions, 4-3. New England has got to be feeling terrible. They were up 3-1 halfway through the game. New England had a chance to stave off the course and then win in 7 and be like, okay, well, that's okay. We were up 3-0. We choked, but we won in 7. But the whale fell, and the Arrows put it through. Mortson, Harris, and Hale. What a time for your first goal of the playoffs by Larry Hale. Only game 1 was decided by multiple goals, and that was New England winning 5-2. Everything else 6-5, 4-3, 4-3, 3-2, 7-6, 4-3. So, yeah, huge. New England, well, Al Smith 9-5, Bruce Landon 2-2. Tom Webster 29 points, Plo 23, Sheehy 22, Caffrey 21. Webster with the most goals, 14, Plo with 13, Caffrey with 12. And Houston, for their goaltending, Wayne Wetlich 7-2, Don McLeod 5-3. So they went split seas. Well, they beat LA in 5, they beat Winnipeg in 5, and they took down Houston in 7 despite everything because they had the reverse sweep. Gord LeBoissois with 29 points, Murray Hall with 19, Popil with 19. Murray Hall had 10 goals. LeBoissois had 24 assists. Unfreaking real. He had more assists than any other player on Houston. And Murray Hall was the goal scorer with 10. LeBoissois only scored 5. Against New England, well, they beat New England October 18th. They won in overtime November 13th against them. They won December 29th against them. They lost. They got their asses whipped 7-1 on January 9th against them. They beat them February 1st. And they lost 6-2 to New England. So they got blown out twice, but they still had more wins. They had more wins. Yeah. Houston had more wins. Both teams had 97 points, but Houston had more wins. Houston beat New England like 4 out of 6 times, so practically they knew they had the advantage. Tom Webster still led in goals with 14. He still had the goal scoring thing. Larry Plo had 13. Bobby Hall had 13. Assist wise, Lobozo crushed it, 24 assists. He ties Tom Webster for points with 29. Webster 14 goals, 15 assists. Lobozo 5 goals and 24 assists. Lobozo by himself would have been, take away his goals, he would have been second all by himself. Larry Plo had 23 points, so Lobozo had 24 assists. I think he's definitely named the MVP. I mean, the dude was a team player through and through. Probably same like Murray Hall or even Wayne Rutledge, who was 7-2 in the playoffs. But, Dallin McLeod also played a lot of games, so can't blame him. So anyway, that's all, folks. The Houston Aeros are your 1973 champions. Hey, I'm Jeff Diamond. Odu.